So it's finally time to finish off the Brutal and Cunning series for Kill Team. So far, I've given you guys painting the orcs, painting the squigs, painting the battle pug, and painting the scenery. So a Ratling Sniper is the logical last thing to do, to tick this box off and say I've given you a full playlist on how to get this box set done for yourself. Now, to be brutally honest, when I was constructing the Ratlings, I loved the aesthetic and I loved the lore. While I was constructing them, I was a little nervous about the concept of painting them because they were festooned with extra bits and pieces all over the models, which does, in a lore sense, make a lot of sense. These guys are supposed to be like little hobbits, so it should be like pies and cups of tea and spoons and all sorts of extra bits hanging off them everywhere. But it also added up to quite a lot of extra painting that I wasn't looking forward to. Now, I've been putting these guys off, that's why they're last, because I wasn't really sure how I was going to tackle it. Now that I've actually painted one up, and you will see in this video, it actually wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. I actually love how he turned out, and I'm actually excited to move forward and get the rest of the squad painted and take another kill team off my backlog. So I think that's a good thing. Like I said, I was worried, and I was talking to some other painters out there who were feeling exactly the same thing. So hopefully this will help you guys to overcome those fears and get this set painted up. Now, before I get into the video, I just want a huge thank you to everybody who supported Mediocre Hobbies in 2023 or 2024. I'm hoping you're all very excited to continue the journey in 2025. And if you supported me over on Patreon, you guys are literally the best. I literally could not keep doing this without your support. So thank you guys so much for everyone that joined, for everyone that sticked around, to everyone enjoying their extra content that are getting over there and all that. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, the Patreon is linked down in the description below. We really want to push Mediocre Hobbies to bigger and better heights for 2025, and things like Patreon support is a big part of that. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Let's dive in and get this Ratling Sniper painted up. Okay, this is the awesome Ratling commander who's going to lead my Ratling squad. You may recognize his head. We'll leave it as a little bit of an Easter egg. They have included a bunch of heads that kind of look suspiciously like characters from certain games, but let me know in the comments if you figure out who it is. So we're going to start, of course, with Militarum Green, and we're going to use this to paint up his shirt, his little combat shirt. I'm going to be basically following the color scheme that they've given on the box set. Not the colors used, but the scheme, if you will. I'm going to try and make it as easy as possible for you guys to follow along and get your Ratlings to look exactly the same as the ones from the box set. The models were all sprayed black, then sprayed gray here. I say it in every video. I made an updated how I spray models video a couple of months ago now at this stage, that I will link below. So if you are curious about how I do my spraying or whatever, just check it out below. Okay, with the green in place, it's time to move over to Black Templar. This is for his trousers and the casing of his sniper rifle. Now you got to be careful with their trousers because it basically just goes from their waist down to their knees. After their knees, they have gaiters on, so like leather protective strap thingies, which is kind of funny for Ratlings to wear because the purpose of gaiters is to like protect your ankles and shins and stuff from like, you know, debris and terrain and getting scratched and getting twisted and any of that kind of stuff. But then they have those on and then they're barefoot, so it kind of feels like it defeats the purpose. Or maybe Ratlings' feet are just so gnarly that they just don't care, but they've got little dainty ankles, maybe, I don't know. Okay, but once we do have the black in place for that, we're going to move over to some of the other details on this awesome model. And like I talked about at the beginning, I was a little bit nervous about the number of details. So for instance, like the beret on this guy, I think he's the only guy with a beret. So I'm going to show you guys how to paint a beret in this video, but it doesn't translate to any other part on any other model, I don't think. He's got medals across his chest. So I'm going to show you guys in this video how to paint medals across the front. I don't think any other model has medals. Do you know what I mean? This is those extra bits that can be a little bit frustrating when it comes to making videos, because obviously there'll be another guy who'll have, you know, a handkerchief around his neck or this, and some people might be like, well, how the hell do I paint that? And I'm sorry that I can't help you. I can't paint up the entire squad and do a video on 10 different individual Ratlings. But we just make do. We do our best. So for instance, the red that's going to be used for the ribbons and the medals will be the same thing I'm going to be using for the handkerchief and any other random bits of cloth that happen, just to keep a bit of like unity throughout the models and make them look like a cohesive squad. Obviously things like the anti-tank rifle, the big heavy sniper, might be painted slightly differently. Maybe not, maybe you'll just do it silver and black like the one I've done here. I'm not sure yet. I haven't painted my one yet. I don't know whether I'm going to push it. I don't know whether it's got like energy coils on it or something that need to be painted in glow or anything like that. I'm not sure. But just do get creative when you're painting your Ratlings, because there will be details that you won't think of. Like this guy's hand, the one that's holding the sniper rifle here, the alternate build of that was him holding a cup of tea. So I would have had to show you how to paint a ceramic mug and some brown tea inside. You know what I mean? It's just, Just pick some colors, have some fun. As long as, like, you know, the shirt and the trousers, the skin tones, they're all exactly the same. It's going to look like a squad. And then you can just kind of pull in some random colors for some of the other details where appropriate. And I think you'll all pull it off. Don't be worrying. Don't forget, when doing the skin tone, this is the Gullman flesh being done on the skin, that he's got his face, his hands, and his feet, because he's a Ratling / Hobbit, so his feet are on show. Over to Basilicanum Grey, and this is for the grey of his beard, because this is the oldest guy. He's got a grey beard, which matches that character I talked about earlier. Are there any of the other ones going to be grey? Probably not. So you're going to have to pick up some more youthful hair tones for the rest of the Ratlings. You're not going to paint every single guy grey. This is another one of those things I was talking about, where just be creative, have a think, and figure it out. He is such a nice model, and they do paint up rather faster than I was expecting. I think it's probably because, you know, the surface area, like you can see my thumb, like the nail on my thumb versus the size of the model. Like, that's how small they actually are. They're tiny. Bit of Sigvald Burgundy to block in the beret on his head, which is another thing you can do. Any other color you want. Berets are in the military, especially like the British military, is a bunch of different beret colors, so you can go ahead and do what you want for that. Blood Angels red contrast for the medals. Now with this, I'm just going to paint the entire medal from top to bottom in it, including all of the trim parts, because when I come back and add those in with gold later on, gold goes over red beautifully, so it just acts as a nice base coat. I'm not trying to be careful or anything like that. From here, we're going to go into Lead Belcher and start blocking in the metallics. Obviously, the rest of the rifle. And then he's got a bunch of clips and buckles and stuff holding everything in place, which you can, of course, do in silver. Obviously, you can see the metal kind of framework going down the back of his backpack as well. Kind of like one of those big camping backpacks. So obviously, make sure you get that in silver as well. And you'll know this is the kind of point where you'll have a really good look at their backpacks when you're on the silver stage to find all the like spoons and compasses and all the other bits and pieces that have gone missing from the Cadian military camp while these guys were parading through a couple of days ago. And they tried to help themselves to a few bits and pieces, all in the name of you know, good mission protocol, of course. With the silver done, we of course going to add in the gold details. So I decided this guy gold belt buckle. Now it's supposed to be silver because, you know, he's a low ranking, but a lot of officers have gold belt buckles, and he obviously considered himself to be quite a high ranking officer, even though he just leads the Ratlings around. So I reckon some officer somewhere is missing his shiny gold belt buckle. He's probably flogged half his staff so far trying to figure out where it's gone, and then this guy's parading around with this beautiful relic belt buckle. But yeah, it was a bit of fun. So the quill is on the rifle, and the bits and pieces on the metal, and his belt buckle all got done in gold. Now, I decided to shade the entire model with Null Noel, which may be a funny choice. You could have gone sepia, you could have gone brown, more natural tones, but I decided that these guys are like night operatives, like SAS style, you know, sneaking around. So I wanted to kind of darken the mood of the whole model just a little bit, have the recesses be shadow, like these guys do operate in very clandestine places, a lot of night missions and stuff. So I thought Null Noel was a good choice for that. It will shade everything right down. We will be making it pop again with a little bit of highlighting, but that's it. And I think it, as a person who has seen the final result, I think it definitely did work out for the best, and I'm really happy with the final result. Okay, while the shade was drying, I of course got the base done, and now it's time to start layering up this beast of a model. I'm really happy with how he's looking so far. At this point I was like, okay, this is working way better in my head. Well, this is working out way better than I thought it was going to in my head, and I was really excited to start layering it up and seeing what the final result was going to be. Let's get stuck in and do that. So the first thing we're going to do is grab our Strachan green, and we're going to layer up his nice little green shirt. With his green shirt, I'm going to do his shoulder pauldrons as well. He's got little armored shoulders, very much Cadian-esque. Not sure where he got them from, not sure if they're standard issue. Let's not talk about that. I was tempted to add Cadian transfers to it, because when these guys aren't being used as my kill team, they are designed and painted to match and fill in for my Cadians. That's where they're going to go, the army they're going to sit into when they're not being used as kill team. But I don't think a lot of the Ratlings have the shoulder pads, so I'm not sure yet. I didn't do it for the video. Whether they get added later on, it's possible. I'm not 100% sure. They kind of seem fine without it because they're so detailed. So who knows? Just very carefully going in, very rough highlights on the shoulder pads, some kind of like streaky, scratchy highlights, and then obviously Painting in the shirt, being careful not to hit any of them, like the suspenders or the medals or anything like that. Corvus Black was then used to highlight his trousers and his, obviously the rifle's casing. Now, when I do the rifle casing here, it does look very flat. It doesn't stand out all that well, the detail, and I think it's a very focal point of the model is this giant rifle the size of him. But don't worry, when I get to highlighting the silver later on, I'm going to add a little bit of scratching, a little bit of edge highlight to make it look like a worn down battle rifle. And I think it fits into the model a lot better when I do that. So do relax and we'll get there, don't worry. Ratlings are known to keep pristine equipment though. So it would be okay for it to be a pristine rifle. Mournfang Brown for all of the kind of suspenders and belt buckles and straps and everything that's holding his gear and equipment onto his body. And there is quite a lot of it, especially on his backpack and stuff as well, holding all those different packs and pouches in place. And of course the gaiters as well got highlighted with the Mournfang Brown as well. On to Cadian Flesh Tone for the first of two highlights on the skin. Like I said, we're just going to follow the kind of raised areas of the face. So you can see his nose, his cheeks, tiny bit of a forehead, and his lip. There's actually some ears poking through the beard that I think I missed. So if you're doing it, be a little bit more diligent and find his little ears. And then obviously he's got his hands and feet on show as well. So make sure that you're highlighting those with that Cadian as well. Like I said, this is a two-stage highlight. So from this one, we're going to jump straight up to Kislev Fesh, which obviously is going to be the final highlight on the skin. And this is a very much a touch highlight, tips of nose, tip of cheek. And then like obviously you can see the detail in the feet from here and the hands and knuckles. Here just look at tips of the knuckles all the way along. And add that kind of final bit. You can see I'm transferring very little paint with those highlights. See how fast I'm moving the brush. And without that, I've got our little hobbit feet painted and ready to stomp across the throats of the Chaos Space Marines, which I'm sure these guys are going to take in combat. After that, we are going to go into Dawnstone. Dawnstone is just going to be used to highlight his beard. Like I said earlier, might be the only model that has grey beard. So, and he's got alternate heads. You might not glue this head onto this guy. This might be a pointless part of the video, and I'm sorry for you. Just because it's pointless, I decided to put my forehead in the middle of it, if that helps. Screamer Pink was then used to highlight his beret. Promise you it's in there behind that forehead. So when I'm really focusing on small details, the camera's directly above my head, so I'm like leaning in closer to get like the best view and make sure, and so I end up coming into frame, which isn't the best. It's called Mediocre Hobbies, guys. The keyword mediocre. Okay, with those last few bits of detail done, the model, I believe, is finished and ready to be deployed onto the tabletop. Really love the final bit. Like obviously we have lead belcher left because I forgot about that, and now we'll just ignore the last bit I said. To highlight all those silver and gold details across the model. Oh, whoopsies. Always one step that catches me out. Sometimes. And this is the bit where I was talking about earlier, where I'm going to use it to highlight the black casing on the rifle as well. So I'm catching all the edges. Because obviously these guys are crawling around through ruins and debris and rubble and stuff to make sure that they're in the right position to take those perfect shots. Added a few micro scratches, which obviously finished off the rifle nicely. And that finished off the squat. Ready for a little bit of a show and tell. Here he is looking, I think, very cool. Like I said at the beginning, I was nervous, wasn't sure I was going to enjoy the process. And I was worried about finishing this whole squad off. At the end of the video, when this guy is completely finished, I'm so inspired and I'm genuinely frothing at the bit to, I think I just mixed two things together there, to get the rest of the squad painted up and actually give them a go on the tabletop because I think they're awesome. Here's a couple of still images. This is the idea of that like kind of moody, darker lighting that I reckon these guys operate in, which is why I wanted the shadows to be nice and dark. Of course, he has his trusty companion at all times. The battle mutt will serve him well in all combat zones, and if anyone ever kills a battle mutt, I'm pretty much going to come across the table at them. And then of course he is skulking around, sneaking and hunting the poor orcs from the Brutal and Cunning box set. Okay guys, and here's the finished Ratling Sniper. Like I said at the beginning, I love how he turned out. Much better than I thought he was going to turn out, and a much more enjoyable painting process than I was expecting. So you can expect to see the full squad of painted Ratlings hitting my Instagram in the next week or so, I think. So yeah, big up on those. Loved it. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you give the video a like, ask me any question you want in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed. Those three things are stuff that I encourage everyone to do for every creator that they enjoy. If you watch their video, give it a like, say something in the comments if you feel like it, or you've anything cool questions to ask, anything like that, and make sure you subscribe to those channels. It literally costs you nothing, but it really does help push our videos out to a bigger audience, which helps us to grow, which allows us to make bigger and better content for you guys. So yeah, it's the best and easiest way to support us. If you want to take it a step further, things like Patreon stuff exist. They're linked down below. All right, thank you guys so much for sticking around at the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.